If you've ever felt uncomfortable trusting an app with your most personal health information, I've made this video for you. More and more of us are stepping away from digital tracking and returning back to the lost art of pen and paper tracking. Today I'm going to show you a beautiful and simple way to do just that using just a bullet journal, so it's completely free. If you prefer to have it done for you, I've got you covered as well. The link will be below. I wanted to create this video before I release my next 2 video investigations, because if you go and you watch those videos and then you decide you no longer want to use an app, you deserve a soft place to land, and this video is going to help you a lot. Over the past decade, cycle tracking apps have become a staple for women worldwide, but not all of them are as regulated or as respectful of our privacy as we would expect or assume. And this is seeing women returning back to the long lost art of pen and paper tracking, myself included. This method is private, it's free, and it connects you back to your body in a way that cycle tracking apps just simply can't do. But before I get into showing you how to set up your cycle tracker, there's a few important things that we need to cover first. Tracking your cycle with pen and paper, or an app for that matter, is a great way to predict your next period, notice any cycle symptoms, sync your lifestyle with your cycle, or create a health record that you can share with your doctor. But tracking your cycle in this way is not a reliable method for accurately avoiding pregnancy or precisely planning conception. If you want to predict your fertile window and plan or avoid pregnancy with accuracy, then you need to be using the full fertility awareness method, which involves tracking your basal body temperature every day, as well as your cervical mucus. In that case, your chart would look a little something like this and takes quite a bit of knowledge and experience to interpret the data accurately. So for today, we're talking about basic cycle tracking, which is something that everyone can and should do. The paper method I'm showing you today is comparable to how menstrual cycle tracking apps work. It uses a basic mathematical equation to predict your next period and ovulation, but it's just a guess. The other important piece I wanted to cover before we get started is cycle length and irregular cycles to help put things into greater perspective. There's no such thing as a perfect 28-day cycle that we need to strive for. That number is often treated like the average or the ideal, but studies show that less than 15% of women actually have a 28-day cycle. In reality, a healthy menstrual cycle is anywhere from 21 to 34 days in length. A few days of variation is to be expected, and what's normal is what is consistent for you. So what if you have an irregular cycle? At least 20% of women have an irregular cycle. A cycle is considered to be irregular if it swings significantly in length. So for example, you might have a cycle that is 24 days one month, and then the next month it's 36 days, and that irregular pattern continues. This is really important to identify because no matter if you're using the paper method or an app, they both rely on past averages. So if your cycle changes from month to month, these predictions are going to be less reliable. And why that's important is because if you are trying to avoid pregnancy, you absolutely need to use a backup method like condoms 100% of the time. Otherwise, you do risk an unplanned pregnancy. On the flip side, if you're trying to conceive and you have irregular cycles, then I highly recommend that you take your cycle information to your GP, your naturopath, your OBGYN, your trusted healthcare professional to help you get to the bottom of why your cycles are irregular, because that can make all the difference in whether you become pregnant or not. Irregular cycles can be a sign of PCOS, thyroid imbalance, many other things. So it's really important that you get the support you need. This point alone demonstrates why tracking your cycle is so important. Whether you have a regular or an irregular cycle, tracking your cycle helps you to identify what's normal for you and advocate for your health using real data. I've created a free health advocacy toolkit, which I have linked below. It's designed to help you record and organize your menstrual cycle information, and it has tips and scripts so you can have effective conversations with your healthcare team. It's completely free, and it's already helped so many women navigate these challenging conversations. Those were the main things I wanted to cover, but now for the fun part, let's get into setting up your tracker. So you're going to need a few things. Firstly, a bullet journal, or any journal will work, but a bullet journal or a grid book specifically will make this so much easier. You'll need a black pen and some colored pens, a pencil, and a ruler. Title your page. I'm simply going to put the year, leave 2 spaces, then write the numbers 1 to 31 down the side. Across the top, we'll write the first letter of each month. Now we're going to use a ruler to create the grid. I'll speed this up for the video, but bonus points if you allow yourself to enjoy this process as a mindful activity. We're going to black out day 31 in April, June, September, and November, and it's 2025, so we're also going to black out days 29, 30, and 31 in February. Now create a title for your symptoms. I'm making space for 5 symptoms or anything else you'd like to record really, leaving just 1 space between each, and I'll be recording cramps, headache, fatigue, intercourse, and mucus because that's what's relevant for me. And I'll pop on the screen a list of some things you might want to track based on your body and your needs. You'll also need to decide on some symbols to use to represent these symptoms. Again, here's a list of some ideas. Depending on your needs, you'll want to select symbols that can easily overlap. So for me, I've done an X for cramps, a vertical line for headache, and a horizontal line for fatigue. So if I experience all of them on one day, it's easy to record. Now we'll create a title for cycle length. Leave 1 space, then list the first letter for each month. So there you have it, a simple DIY yearly tracker. Now, if you would prefer to have this done for you, I've created this beautiful A5 tracker which fits easily into a journal. It's printed on premium 300 GSM cardstock. You can find it linked below. Now it's time to fill it out. Ideally, you would fill this out each day that you have something to record. I recommend doing this in the evening as part of your bedtime routine. Today for the demonstration, I'll be transferring the data from my cycle tracker app as I'm transitioning to paper tracker. Let's start by recording period days, the days when you're bleeding. Day 1 of your period is the first day of full blood flow. It's different to spotting, so mark day 1 when you have that full juicy flow. Now to record your cycle length. We'll be counting the days from day 1 all the way up until the day before your next period begins. So my cycle that started in January was 29 days long. If your cycle is shorter and you start 2 cycles in 1 month, just record them both next to the same month. Now you can make a guess when your next cycle will begin. I'll do this in pencil so I can erase it later. My cycle is on average 27 days, so I'll make a prediction that my next period will arrive 27 days after my current period begins. And I'll also add this to my digital calendar so I always have it with me. Additionally, as you're tracking, you'll want to mark down your symptoms. This is something I have prepared earlier. So I want to explain how I track my cervical mucus. So what I'm tracking is what I observe and believe to be fertile cervical mucus. I've written an in-depth blog post about cervical mucus, which I will link below. Some people like to track their dry days. I personally don't. Everything you track is entirely up to you and what your needs are. So what I'm trying to do is to observe my peak day of clear, stretchy, fertile mucus, which is how I'm guessing my ovulation day. So when I start to observe what I believe is fertile cervical mucus, I'll pop down a little dot, and the dot gets bigger and bigger with the quantity, and I'm able to identify the day that I have the largest quantity of that fertile cervical mucus. So now you have a beautiful record of your most essential menstrual cycle information, and this is perfectly appropriate to bring along to any appointments you have with a healthcare provider. If you want to organize your information even further to make it easier for your appointments, go ahead and grab that health advocacy toolkit I've linked below. I just want to talk about the fertile window because I will never stop saying this. Paper methods as well as menstrual cycle tracking apps cannot accurately predict your ovulation. This means that this method is not a reliable contraceptive method when used on its own. That said, if you're using this for general awareness and combining it with backup contraceptive methods like condoms, then this can still be a really useful guide. So if you're not tracking cervical mucus like I do, how you can guess your ovulation is you're going to go to day 1 of your last period and count 14 days back, and then mark that day as your guessed ovulation day. The 5 days before your ovulation and the day after can be treated as your fertile window. But remember, because this is just a best guess, it means that you might actually ovulate several days before or after. So you really need to widen your predicted fertile window several days on either side of that. This is useful information that you can still track and still use as a general guide. As you can see, tracking your cycle is more than just simply marking your period dates in a calendar. This method is incredibly insightful, and over time you'll start to notice patterns that can help you plan your lifestyle as well as communicate your symptoms if you need to. If this video has helped you, please hit the like button. That's going to help more women find this video. And if you've tracked your cycle before, whether that's on paper or in an app, I'd love to hear what your experience is below. Be sure to check out the description. I've included a bunch of links and free resources that you might enjoy. And if you're curious about how cycle tracking apps have evolved over the years and perhaps some of the not so talked about bad behavior, I've got a couple videos coming up that you won't want to miss. Sending you so much love, and I will see you again in a future video.